Hey YouTube, it's Ben here with the 60-gallon Cichlid tank, and as promised we're going to do a short video on some peacocks. And I have a few more haps in here than I do peacocks. Not your giant haps, but certainly more haps than peacocks. And but I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the peacocks I have in here, and I want to start off with this little guy here who is I picked him up as a fry, about a ½ fry, and he was just, of course, gray and colorless, and I was just waiting with my fingers crossed, hoping that he was a male, and then all of a sudden he just sort of exploded with a lot of colors, and I don't think he's done. He's a little Otter Point, and you can see he's got some great colors going on there, and he holds his own. You know, he's from what I've read about these Otter Points, they can get pretty aggressive sometimes, and so he's a little guy with an attitude, which is what you need sometimes to thrive in a tank where you're one of the smaller fish. And he has certainly done well for himself, and has colored up nicely, as you can see there. And that's the little Otter Point. And the Otter Point, I think that's a point. That's a section on the southern tip of Lake Malawi. I think it's what they call Otter Point. Maybe it's got some otters in there. I don't know for sure, but I think that's where it's at. This guy here, I think, is a yellow Benga. I picked him up from Amy at Ames Altitude Aquatics, and he's a decent-looking fish. We'll see what he does. We'll see how he blossoms. I have some a very, very beautiful yellow sunshine I've got my eye on, and so we'll see. If I end up keeping this one here, we'll see how he colors up, and if not, I might just offer him out and replace him. We'll see what. But he's a pretty fish. He's getting some egg spots since he arrived at the tank, and he's you know, he's a friendly fish. He doesn't get into anything with anybody. Just sort of minds his own business. Now, one of my original peacocks, which I've asked around and checked and gotten other people's opinions, and the consensus seems to be that he is a peacock, and that's my my OB. Someone referred to him as a raspberry once, and one of the first OBs, one of the first cichlids I've ever owned, and he was about 1/3 of the size he is now. And so, as you can see, he's blossomed very nicely. Has some great coloration. Usually has a little blue in the lips, and he's just got a lot of good colors going on. A lot of nice stripes. I think whoever breeds these OBs, this particular line of OBs, must be a very active breeder, because I run into OBs that look a lot like him in other people's tanks, and you would think they were duplicates or twins. So this is whoever's breeding these, who knows, maybe they're coming from Cichlid Shack. There you go, I gave you a plug. So he's a beautiful fish. And another fish that is very, very popular is, certainly when I post pictures of him, people really like him, is that lemon Jake back there. And he's got some really pretty electric yellow going on. And well, we're getting camera bombed here by my other peacock, but the lemon Jake is there we go. He can tell I'm talking about him, but he's a little colored down right now. Obviously, he's being picked on there by the electric blue. I mentioned in my other video when he's showing his black bands on his flanks, it means he's in a mood. So. Maybe he's in one of his moods. But this lemon Jake is a very popular guy, very pretty, one of my favorite peacocks, and very, very peaceful. So By the way, in my last, I think in my last video, I mentioned that I called the Taiwan the Taiwan reef and the tangerine tiger. I called them omnivores, but that was a mistake. They're herbivores, and in their native habitat, they eat a lot of algae off rocks. So they have a very heavy plant-based diet. And so, you know, in my opinion, even when you're feeding something as high quality as Northfin, and which I happen to acquire from Northfin USA over at Jay Wilson's place. There you go, Jay, gave you a plug. So the even a high quality food that has some veggies in it may not be enough veggies, in my opinion, for these types, for the Taiwan and the tangerine tiger. So I put a veggie wafer in there, and it has, you know, it has soy and other good stuff in it. So that helps to supplement their diet, and it also helps the pleco, who has pretty much wiped out the. You can see here, wiped out the the algae on the rocks, and so he's going to need some supplementation. This guy here, I don't know. I think he's a hybrid. He's a combination redfin borlei and possibly a red empress. So I don't know what to call him. Just a hybrid, I guess. And Ethylnane chutende back there with the nice yellow egg spots. Very nice little fish. Usually gets some electric blue threading throughout his fins, but he's a little bit colored down. He's very subdominant in this tank, as you can imagine. My favorite, of course, as you can imagine, is my bicolor 500, who ever since I removed the bully of the tank, the redfin borlei, has really kind of blossomed and calmed down, and you know, really displays his fins and colors more than ever since I removed the aggressor that for some reason had it out, you know, had it out to get him. And so now his life is a little bit more peaceful. Everybody's a little bit worked up. It's feeding time, and I haven't fed them yet, and so they're all acting a little bit less calm than they do normally. But because they know they've got some food coming. But those are the peacocks. And if I missed somebody, just go ahead and remind me in the comments. And like Mike Hayes did on the Taiwan reef. And if you saw my other video, which when I release this one, I think it should be out already. I did a major change. If you remember in my last video, I had built up this center section, and I had a lot of, you know, it was like a little bit of a mound in the middle, and that's gone because I removed a lot of the substrate. And if you want to know why I did that, watch my video on which if I haven't released yet is going to be released in a couple days. My video on the battle with nitrates. Okay, I've got a video on my battle with nitrates and how I think I've won that battle. Okay, but winning that battle included removing some substrate, removing the grate that was under the substrate, which was just a royal pain, and doing a major water change, and also servicing one of my 2 canisters. I think I mentioned in the video that I serviced both of them, but I didn't. I only serviced one. I didn't want to really shock the tank that much. But at any rate, so the tank looks different. There's a reason why it looks different, and you'll hear about that on my next video. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. You folks are greatly appreciated. And thank you very much.